right, summer's just about over here, and the last couple of months, let's start with the Civic Center. It's been really busy out there. How would you rate this year's Celebrate Anderson? Were those record numbers?
Those were record numbers for Celebrate Anderson, but that's because, a whole lot of people wanted to see Martina McBride, but also when we had the Anderson Cancer Association bring in the balloons on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it almost built to a crescendo on Sunday night because, Sunday night while I was there, we were getting everything ready. It was packed inside the amphitheater, but if you went up on the high hill, you still saw 2,000 or 3,000 people over on the balloon launch field. So, when that ended, those people came in. So it was great, and it was constant activity all weekend, all Friday, all Saturday, people having a good time, people coming out, bringing their kids. So it was a wonderful weekend. We were very well pleased with it, and I think most everybody who attended was very well pleased with it.
Good weather?
Perfect weather for a change.
Okay. And then it was followed, just within days by Pitbull, which was another, is that the most people they've had in there for a concert?
We either had between 7,000 or 8,000 people at the Pitbull concert, which was a private promoter who did that show. And even though he was a little late, I think most everybody enjoyed it. And so what I was happy that we were able to do, working in a partnership with Upcountry Fiber, we were able to have Darius Rucker. So, that's pop and country, a mix there from him. And then we had Martina McBride, country, and then we had Pitbull. And so, we had something for everybody. And I think everybody enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to a good season next year at the Civic Center at the amphitheater. We're working on that now. I hope we're looking at possibly some 2-day music festivals and things like that. Nothing concrete at this time. But this is the time of the year when you book for next year. So we're excited about that. And our new stage is doing what we thought it would do. People will actually want to come to the amphitheater and not stand under the death trap that could collapse on you at any point in time. So we're really happy about that.
Were the signals pretty clear that Anderson will support non-country acts? Because it's about all we
Well, that crowd for Pitbull would tell you that they will support something other than country acts. But you need to have a broad range of activities that everybody can enjoy, and that's what Civic Center staff is working on right now. It's something for everybody.
Yeah.
But again, people say, well, the Civic Center's active. The Civic Center's active just about every day of the week. Last night we had wildlife exhibition there. We'll have meetings there. We'll have groups that come in. We'll have consignment sales and things like that. So that building's in constant use all the time.
Well, I was going to ask you that, but are there any plans to upfit that building to have concerts inside some? Because it's just not a very good venue for concerts.
It's not a good venue for concerts, and there's not really a lot you can do to make the acoustics better in there. But hopefully one day we'll possibly even have a concert hall.
How did the clear bag policy work? I know it's going to now or almost now in place in a lot of county buildings.
I think it went off pretty much without a hitch. We did everything we could possible to let people know that it was in effect. We still had some people who didn't know it was in effect, but we tried to work with them so it wouldn't be too much of an inconvenience. But at this day and time, that clear bag policy, it's for the patrons' protection. It's not to protect us, it's to protect everybody, all of us in that venue, so somebody doesn't do something stupid. So no, we didn't get any kickback on that.
And how many of the county buildings is that going to be impacting? There's signs up at the courthouse now, and
that is a facility policy. We allowed them to do that. This clear bag policy here, naturally, and it really originated clear bag policy over at the courthouse. The new courthouse is really what the impetus was. So some places do and some places don't.
What about the sports fields and the courts out there? Any upgrades or any new news from these spots?
No, we just finished the second cricket field. Still have a little work to do on that.
Are there any lights out there? Is that actually in the work somewhere?
We have a price on lights. What we have is what always holds us back is money.
Well, a lot of doctors out there playing cricket.
Yeah, well, it sounds like crowdfunding would be an excellent idea for that. But the situation we have right now, we just initiated plans for the 30-acre park at Piedmont. We were just given the go-ahead to begin the planning for the park in Piedmont. So we've got that. That's a $1 million+ project. We have projects at Hurricane Springs Park. Their tower burned down, and council's very anxious for us to assist in getting that top. We didn't burn down, it was vandalized beyond belief. So we're working on that. We just had a meeting on the playground at the airport. We're closing in on that. We have received private contributions in mega amounts from people, pledges for more money. We meet with a massive donor next week who has an affinity and interest at the airport, and we're hoping to secure a large contribution there. Nothing guaranteed, but we have a price tag on that we're trying to fill. And again, it would be an aviation themed part there. We also have other things that we need to do at the Civic Center that we're working on towards there. And we have requests from some of the smaller parks in the county that we're trying to work on. Naturally, we have equipment that's about to be installed at Dolly Cooper Park. So we've got that going on. We've done new signage up at Double Springs Park. So we've got something going on every time. Plus, we're getting ready at Green Pond for a huge tournament September 30th. So that's coming in. So there's something going on everywhere about everything in all of our parks, and they're getting a lot of use, a lot of use.
You touched on a lot of things I was going to ask you about. Let's unpack a couple of those. Remind people the scope of the Piedmont Park riverfront.
Well, it's 30 acres. It's right there on the Saluda River, right behind the dam. It will allow you to go from Dolly Cooper and get out right at that park. So we think there's going to be a beautiful stretch of river that people will be able to enjoy. But it's not going to be like a park. We want it to be a nature park. It's a beautiful piece of property, and we want to preserve that, but we want to make sure that people have access to it. And that's one of the things we have going on in Piedmont. And Piedmont's bustling and thriving, so we want to put that park there, fix that thing up. We think that's going to spur more business and more interest in the Piedmont area. And we think they're going to get people from all over going to that park, because you'll be able to kayak, canoe, swim, do whatever you want to there, camp out in a natural setting. It's going to be great.
Now, will this be part of the portage, being able to portage all the way around everywhere now?
Oh, absolutely.
Remind people what's fixing to happen with that, because there's been some places where you couldn't really get in and out.
Well, we're having to work with some private entities to allow us to put in a portage around those areas. And so we're working very hard on that. And, you know, I want you to be able to go all the way from here and go all the way to the dam at Lake Greenwood, jump the dam at Lake Greenwood, because right on the other side is Lake Murray, go down Lake Murray and go all the way to Charleston in a kayak, and you could do it. So those are just things that we would like to do. And we're getting a lot of help from a lot of other people. We
said like to do. These are actually in the works.
Yeah,
right?
but we proselytize to other counties like Pickens and Greenwood and those places, say, look, this is good stuff. Let's get on board together. And Greenwood's really jumping on it pretty hard. So we're excited about that.
And I'm going to back up a little bit more to the Civic Center and some of these other parks you mentioned. Frisbee Golf Course seems to always have people out there.
Always.
People still playing bocce ball? They're still...
Not too much bocce ball, but you have to fight for space on the pickleball courts.
I was going to ask how the pickleball was going.
Oh, my
Any tournaments planned out there?
Oh, they have tournaments all the time.
I mean, a big one. Wasn't there some?
Well, they had a big tournament. Williamston, the town of Williamston, built their own pickleball courts. They had a big tournament, and the pickleball court up at Hurricane Springs, you can't get on there. So you can't build enough pickleball courts to satisfy the demand. But right now we have 3 in the county, and they stay in constant use.
And Kid Venture seemed to have be a popular spot all summer. Any other upgrades planned over the winter? And what's the next phase, and what will it cost?
The next phase would probably cost $1.5 million. We have $750,000, but we don't have it yet. We have to wait for that money to come from the state, because thanks to Senator Cash, Senator Gambrell, those people fought hard to get us that money, but we don't have it yet. But we knew we weren't going to have it right yet. Hopefully by the end of September, 1st of October, we will have that money. But we have talked to our designer. It's coming. You get ready, because when it's here, we got to hit the ground running.
So there'll be design plans out before when? Do you know when they're working on those?
Well, really, they can't really start until we get the money so we can pay them. But we've got them thinking very hard on it, so they know what to do, because it's the same people who designed the rest of it. But that thing needs to just continue to grow forever and a day.
Speaking of growing forever and a day, Green Pond, you mentioned some of the things. How will the new RV park there impact Green Pond?
I think it's going to be a blessing. I met with those people yesterday They are going to have tiny homes that you can rent. They're going to have RV spots over there. They're going to make some great improvements. They already have a restaurant that they have already contracted with. People told me yesterday, we are not in the restaurant business, but we have people who are in the restaurant business who are going to run that restaurant, and local people who are going to run it. So we're excited about having another place where people can go with a great view on Lake Hartwell and have dinner. So that's going well.
What about the amphitheater out there? It's wired for sound now, right?
That's wired for sound. As a matter of fact, on the September 30th concert, they're going to have a fishing tournament. They're going to have a concert out there. So it's beginning to pick up as a musical venue, and we've got the people at the Civic Center looking to see if they can book some events there. So
I'm going to ask you, who books all these things? That's a lot of work.
Well, Adrian Cole at the Civic Center, she does that, and we have several people who assist us in that, who help us do that, because that's a niche that you have to know who's who, what's what. We have to go to conventions, because all of these entertainers will be at those conventions. They won't be there, but their representatives will be there, and you'll find out, like, such and such is doing a tour. They're going here, 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 here. And if you happen to be in a good geographical spot, you might get a deal. Because, if some guy's playing in Seattle, Washington, they can't afford to fly down here unless you give them all the money in the world. So it's a whole lot of three-dimensional chess that goes on in this. So,
well, while we're at the lake, council recently voted on some changes to the agreement with the shores at Asbury, which is a little confusing in legalese to me. Can you kind of give me a nickel explanation on what's changed?
I still am absorbing the new changes, so that's about what I know at this point in time. That's in the legal department.
But it has something to do with subleases to restaurants and other businesses
Other
out there?
things like that, but like I said, that's in the hands of the legal department.
How long will it take to sort all that out?
I have no idea.
I guess they got until next summer.
I guess they do.
We're talking about parks, and you mentioned Riverfront Park. What about the proposed trail between Anderson and Belton? Where are we at on that?
They're having meetings on that right now. They're talking about it, trying to get some cost estimates, looking at who the property owners are that would have to be contacted, things like that. So that's moving along at pretty good rate of speed.
Yeah, it looks like, it's moving faster than I thought it would. It looks
Yes.
like real progress on it. This is not just we're talking
but the fact
about
that Duke Energy owns most of that right-of-way makes it real easy. You're not trying to find 56 different property owners.
Any other trail updates? I know for functionally the trail from the connector trail is finished. Is there going to be a grand opening on that at some
There
point?
will be, but there's just a few things that they're cleaning up, spotting up, but that's in the very near future.
In the past few months, council has approved, I think in the past month, approved about 100 new jobs with some tax incentives for that. Generally, how long does it take between the announcement and the hiring of new jobs when we hear things like this?
Usually whenever you make an announcement like that, unless they're going into an existing building, it could be a 6 to 9 month lag, maybe even a year lag. But now that we have the soft landing zone at 1428, and we have the small business incubator out there, we have a company that's out there right now. They do air conditioners. They're out there working now. And so when we announce that deal, they're already working on the product, but they don't have their permanent building, but they're looking for the permanent building. So that speeds things up a lot. But a lot of times if they go in an existing building, it's quick. If they have to build from the ground up, you know how long construction takes. And with supply chain issues, that's a year, 14 months, depending on the size of the building. But thank goodness, like we have an Italian company that we haven't announced yet, which seems to be very, very favorable. But one of the buildings that's already up and standing that was going to be, for lease, they're going to buy it and take it off the market. So they can get to work real quick, real quick.
And some of the big announcements, when they say 500 jobs, it's over a period of time, right?
Usually it's over a period of time, because you don't open the door and boom, there are 500 people there, because you have to train them. But a lot of times you start training before you actually have a place for them to go. And then some companies have a training program constantly for new employees. Tri-County Tech does a great deal of that, and so they're always busy.
And it seems like economic development is a really complicated, long game. We're talking about moving pieces. How much of your time is spent with that?
Yesterday afternoon, 4 hours.
So a typical day, you spend a lot of time.
Yesterday, It's because we had two separate projects we were working on. And one has a lot of ins and outs and convoluted things that involve roads and roads that we don't own and things like that. But I mean, that's the fun thing working on that. And thank goodness we have a council who is attuned to business. And so they'll sit in with us to provide insight. And we're real big on that county council, because they are the bosses, they're in charge. That some places people go do deals and they bring them to council. We've always been of the thing that if we have council walk along that path with us, when it comes time for a vote in there, well, they already know as much as we do. And they've already said, yeah, we want this, or B, we don't want this. And we do not take everything. I mean, you know, there are projects floating around out there, and I'm not going to mention the type that could possibly have batteries, but we have no interest in that. We don't need to do that. We don't have to do that. And we can be a little more picky than, say, we could 20 years ago. So there are things out there that we don't want.
And that's kind of emerged that council's been a part of that over the last couple of decades, hasn't it? Because there was a time when it was just backroom kind of.
Yeah, and I was in that back room. I know how that worked.
Piece to pass.
Yeah, I was in the back room. And that's where I learned everything, in that back room. But it's just good when they know. Like Councilman Sanders was with us the whole day, but Councilman Sanders has a business background. And so he understands what's going on, and he's there to, you know, help us tell everybody else what's going on.
How much do road conditions play as a factor when you're recruiting new industry?
Well, most of them want to be near 85, and we're happy with that. But they play a larger part, and are going to play a much larger role, because, I mean, you know, back in the day, well, here's a truck, you go over there, pick it up, you carry it over there. Now it's logistics and on time and everything like that. It's a science. I mean, some of those guys sitting in these dark rooms are moving things all around the world. So roads are very important. That's why council's looking at that penny sales tax. Hopefully, the update I got yesterday, we're about 2 weeks away from that study being complete, or at least enough for us to move forward on that. So we're looking forward to that. Weather's been a hindrance on that. So hopefully we can get that closer to completion.
You told me that once the third reading has been held to approve the referendum, council and y'all elected officials can't advocate for it. Why is that?
We can provide it. It's in the law. We can provide information, but we cannot go out and say, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. Usually you find interested groups that would say, you know, we'll take that role on, and that they will try to provide education and advocate for it. And I'm sure you'll have some people advocating against it, but council's wisdom was, this is the state of the roads right here. This is what it is. We didn't come up with this. We paid a company. They have the reputation online. We're going to put it before the voters. If you want to fix up every road in Anderson County, here's the way to do it. And if not, then we'll just continue to chug along. And that's not a threat. It's just a fact on money, because you don't want to add 10 mills of taxes on people's property. You don't want a
That wouldn't even help, really.
No, it wouldn't help. And you don't want a vehicle fee on cars. I think that's unfair. I don't think there's a fair tax that's ever been created, no matter what anybody says. But this is the way to do it. This is the way to get the amount of money to make an immediate impact. I'd love for Anderson County people to come here and say, man, y'all have the best roads in the state. This is amazing.
And it could happen if that's approved.
And it could happen. But again, we have 1,500 miles of county road. I've said it 52 times on your show. And it's just, it is what it is. And it costs money to take care of them. Asphalt prices are through the roof. We're getting prices that are absolutely crazy. I mean, we're getting crazy prices on everything, anything you do anymore. I mean, as soon as you open your mouth, that's $1 million. Well, I just wanted to buy a washer. What's $1 million?
Well, and you mentioned the county will continue to do what they can, but the bottom line is, and tell me if this is a correct statement, if this is not approved, the roads can't be repaired and the bridges can't be completely brought up to speed and taken and have the best roads we're talking about.
No, you can't do it. We get money from C funds, okay? And they do an excellent job of allocating those money in problem areas, but it's not enough money. Even with the additional money we got this year, roads cost money. And, you know, it's just a simple fact. They cost a lot of money to maintain and keep up. And as the population increases in Anderson County, you put more stress on the roads. So you've got that to deal with.
And like you were talking about the logistics and the big trucks, put more stress on that.
Absolutely, they do.
We're talking about county council, and we're a year away from elections, so this is not an election question particularly, but all the county council seats, which is very unusual for the state of South Carolina, are up for election every 2 years. What would be the process of changing that to 4-year staggered terms?
It requires a referendum, a vote by the people. It's been tried twice in the past, and what you would do is some people would have a 4-year term to start with, and some people would still have their 2-year term. But what that does, I mean, you've seen places where they come in and they wipe out the whole council. Sometimes that's necessary, sometimes it's not. But you lose a lot of institutional knowledge on projects that are more than a 2-year project. But what you, in essence, have with 2 years, yes, the people have their finger on the pulse of government, but sometimes if you get elected, I don't care if you're Albert Einstein or the smartest person in the world, it takes a while to learn how all of this stuff works. I don't care if you're the smartest person in the world or you know everything in the world, it's still a different animal. All governments are different animals, and it takes a while to learn it. If you got somebody who has a 4-year staggered term, you know, some people are always up for election, but they can take a longer view of something. I mean, our jail project is not a 2-year deal. Thank God our council had the courage and conviction, said, this has got to stop. We've got to bite the bullet and do it. But 4 years gives you time to plan, look at the long road ahead, and give you more knowledge to operate.
So there's no other pathway to do it other than referendum?
Referendum is the only way to do it.
Legislature can't do it?
Nope,
Nobody?
Nope. And also our council is probably the lowest. If we're not the lowest paid council in the state, we're pretty doggone close
Certainly
to it.
the lowest of any size. I mean, and you're really lower than some of the really tiny counties.
Yeah, we're lower than a lot of small towns.
But that raise has to come from council voting, right?
The existing council has to vote the next council a raise.
And nobody wants to do that apparently.
No. But a lot of our people say I didn't sign up for the whopping money that I get.
Well, and even if they got a raise, we're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, we mentioned this, I think, our last interview. I think Greenville County is 29,000, and we're around 8,500 or 8,500 or something.
Yep.
And they've got twice the council members too. So.
Yep, they've got 12. We've got 7, and our council members get expenses, but most of them don't even touch that.
Right. So it's not, people don't realize people are running for council or putting in, and it makes it more difficult for people who aren't self-employed or retired to participate in county council as well.
Yeah, but you can do it and have a full-time job. You have to do a little extra work. I mean, that's why we have the meetings at night and things like that, and you can have committee meetings at night, but yeah, it makes it easier.
But if you have a family and stuff, I mean, that little extra money might make a difference for somebody.
Well, it probably comes out to about $200 a month.
Right. It's about $1 an hour or something.
About $1. Well, some of them it's about 25 cents an hour, and $5 is a lot of money to me. So I don't poo-poo $200, but still.
Well, one thing council has been doing the last couple of meetings is providing some funds for programs from the opioid settlement money. I think 4 projects have been approved so far. Is that right?
And we have more in the works.
And one of those is to be run by the coroner's office that recently got a national grant for accreditation funding. What's important about accreditation for them?
Well, dying is not as simple as it used to be. Now you have lots of accidents, insurances, different things, different eyes, different scrutiny. So the coroner's office said we want to achieve the highest level of scrutiny on us that we're bringing down on ourselves by going through this national accreditation process, which is not easy. I mean, our public works outfit is nationally accredited. They're standards that we have to meet. It makes for better county government, but they just want to make sure that they're on the cutting edge of everything they do at the coroner's office. And Steve Newton, our grant writer, got them that grant, so they're going through that process.
It's expensive to do that.
It's very expensive to do that, and also council allocated out of our opioid money, which is not tax money, it's from the opioid settlement, money for them to provide an education program in our schools, at civic clubs, and to people who are already incarcerated in our facilities. So it's going to be a fully multi-pronged attack on educating people on opioids. And Don McCallum, the deputy coroner, will tell you that there are more people 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70 dying from opioids than there are children. but you've got to start somewhere and educate everybody on the dangers of this.
And it's accelerating too.
And it's accelerating. And there's another thing behind fentanyl. I don't even know what the name of that is that's coming out now. And when you say they're doing fentanyl, they might have thought they were doing cocaine, but it was laced with fentanyl.
Any update on the mental health court? When will it be up and running?
I haven't gotten an update on that lately, but I know that the personnel have been hired and they are being provided free assistance on how to set that up and how to do that. So probably pretty close.
And that will allow, for people who don't know, that will allow folks who are charged with a crime to go through a process to have their records expunged if they go through.
But that process involves them involved in a rehabilitation program, work, things like that. They're checked to see if they're on drugs, things like that.
Mental health counseling.
It's mental health counseling, but it's a process where you will clean that up. I mean, that's why one of our uses of our opioid money is to put a mental health counselor, guidance director in our new jail. So when you get out, and that's why we have that deal, that association with Shalom and the other organization, the Bridge program, where you will get a scholarship to go there. So you will get out of jail and go get cleaned up and get back on the right path. And I happen to know one young fellow who went through the Bridge program, and I would not have given you 2 cents on the outcome for him, and he's been good for 14 months. So these places work.
And the Sheriff's Department has been now for, I guess I'm losing track of time, 2 or 3 years, evaluating people for mental illness when they're brought in.
Absolutely evaluating them. They were on the cutting edge of that. But the mental health crisis is the biggest crisis we have in this country. And having a full-time mental health counselor at that jail is going to be a quantum leap in what we're able to do. So council's very excited about that. The Sheriff's Department's very excited about that. And David Baker, the Chief Detention Officer, is very excited about that. He said, "This is what we need, and you just can't walk out of the jail. I'm addicted, without somebody trying to help you go somewhere." So we're giving them a choice to go. You aren't forced to go there, but you have that chance to go there.
Since last time we met, the county christened its new emergency response boat. I know we talked a little bit about it, but now that you've seen it in action and demonstrated, how much do you think it'll benefit the county?
Well, absolutely. No, it's a huge benefit, and we're already looking to see if we can secure grant money to get a second boat. This one right now is kind of like in the middle of Lake Hartwell. We'd like to have one north, and we'd like to have one south. It's a rescue boat. It is a law enforcement vehicle. It is a fire boat, which we've never had, and you saw what we can do with that. And in addition to just the deck gun that sprays water out, we can go up to a house and help a local fire department get a constant source of water, drawing it out of the lake to do that. So it is just a multifaceted, custom-designed boat for Lake Hartwell. It's a great dive boat for us to use on that. So it is the Swiss Army knife of emergency vehicles. That's what that is.
Any chance we could name it after Olin Johnson?
No, right now, informally, we call it the USS Shaggy because Josh Hawkins is the one who designed it, our emergency management director.
And he got excited when you heard you mention another boat.
Yeah, but we think we found a place where we could possibly get another boat because the size of Lake Hartwell, we need another boat.
Well, new home construction is in full swing across the county. Some places is blindingly so. Is council doing anything to provide guardrails to make sure we have quality construction and avoid clear cutting and that kind of thing?
What we have is we have new rules and regulations that council has passed. Land use is probably one of the biggest struggles that the county has right now. We've developed new tools, again, on things that we can do. We have a committee meeting coming up on short-term rentals. There are a whole lot of things that they're looking to address, and people say, well, you should have been doing this 100 years ago. We did a lot of this 100 years ago, and Anderson County subscribes to the International Building Code, and that's the standard that we go to, and that has to do with the quality of house, but it's a minimum standard. I'm just telling you, and anybody else will tell you that. So you should be very careful on who you buy a house from or who you decide to who your builder is.
Our county council chairman is a builder, and he's pretty particular about, I've heard him of all the people I've covered in the decades I've covered this, he's the one who goes after builders who try to pull a fast one.
Absolutely, because he knows it better than anybody, because he's a custom home builder, and that's what he does, and he knows it. So you can't pull the wool over his eyes.
Well, rent prices are out of control.
Yes.
You hear about it every day. How bad is the housing shortage in Anderson County?
It's bad here, it's bad in Greenville, it's bad in Spartanburg. Hopefully these houses being built are going to alleviate some of that. But then you need houses for all income levels, and that's something we're striving to do, to make sure that we have affordable houses for people. And you can see, if you just ride around, you can see a lot of infill going on in old neighborhoods where they're putting in houses that are affordable. We're working with the Nehemiah Project to build affordable houses on land that we got free from a grant. And we're also working with AIM, as we've talked before, on rehabilitating houses. We have a lot of old houses in
Rebuild
Anderson
upstate.
and Rebuild Upstate, which had a meeting this week. So those are all the things that the county's involved in. We receive money from the federal government called the HOME program. It's not local tax dollars. All money is somebody's paying it, but this is a federal grant that we got. And so we're trying to use that to spur affordable housing, to make it easier for people to get in, because it's real hard in this market right now.
Well, speaking of buildings, where is the county at on evaluating all county-owned buildings and properties? I know that was a priority for this year.
Still in there, still have some things. There's still some moving pieces in that if some people move into this place, we can move these people over these places. We were looking to our old public works area. We were wanting to do something with that. Well, now we have somebody renting that, and they're putting a helicopter repair service in there. So, hey, we have a use for that property. A lot of these things that we have examined, we're trying to make sure that we need them, and if we don't, that the council has asked us to dispose of them.
You know, you mentioned some of them that the future needs are going to be there because of their location.
Well, I'm sorry. Population growth in Anderson is not going to stop, and it's going to continue. And if you have something and you can hold on to it for a little while, it's better to keep it. You may not need it now, but I guarantee you'll need it in 5 years. Anderson County, per our council, we run lean and mean on the number of employees we have. So we're not got 85,000 people out there that we just need to stick somewhere. So, but we have to be very cautious on what the county does with buildings that we own now.
And even those, all questions lead back to roads again. Where are we on the evaluators of the roads? That vehicle is supposed to evaluate.
2 weeks, about 2 more weeks.
Finally.
Yes, but
Okay.
we've had a lot of rain that slowed it down. You don't want to go do that when it's pouring down rain.
Well, when they finish the product, they'll have the report pretty quickly then.
Yes, because it's in essence, while they're doing it,
It's automating.
it's
Yeah.
automated.
We mention this every month, but is any movement on the textile mill site tax credits?
Not from the state, and I'm hoping they'll address that when they go back into session in January. That's really hurting development of old mills all across the state, and it makes no sense to me.
And Anderson County can really feels it.
Yes, we feel it. Greatly, we feel it.
Any update on paws? I know we've mentioned they're inundated with animals reflecting a national trend.
They're doing the best they can. They're trying to get them out the door as fast as we can, and as they like to say, adopt, don't shop, because we have plenty of animals for you, and we have a great outreach program. If you can't buy food for your animal, we receive a lot of donations. We'll help you feed your animal. If you need medicine, we will help you with that. There's nothing that the people at Paws won't do to help an animal have a good life. I'm just telling you, there's just not. There's dedicated people.
Well, in 64 days is the unofficial lighting of the county Christmas tree. That'll dress up downtown. Are the tree ornaments returning this year?
Yes, but there'll be some changes.
Any other new decorations on the square? And what changes? You talking about the changes on the ornaments, or?
Ornaments.
Because we missed those last year.
Yes, and we won't miss them this year.
Well, the tree has become a holiday destination. It's also saved the county a lot of money compared to a live tree every year. I think the one estimation looks like so far it saved about $80,000.
Yep.
That's since 2015.
Yep.
And it's held up as well as projected, right?
It's good. It was quality when we bought it, and as we've fertilized it with good fertilizer, it's continued to grow strong.
Well, it started at 34 feet in 2015, and I think last year was 44. Am I guessing right?
Yep.
When is it going to be over 50?
Pretty quick.
Do you know how much they're adding this year?
Looking at the growth rings, I'd say it's at minimum of 2 feet at this point in time.
Okay, so we're at 46, 47, and it gets slowed down a little bit because of COVID, right?
Yes.
So anything else for the holidays?
Well, we're going to have the band back this year. Santa Claus, the Chamber's going to do the cookie crawl. So we're trying to make it a whole night. The merchants will be staying open as we understand it. So there'll be something for everybody to do then. And as you know and I know, the Thursday before Thanksgiving, we'll crank it up, not with the ceremony, we'll just crank it up for people coming home for the holidays.